Hi, my name is Susy Gordon, and last year in June of 2025, I walked away from a $155,000 a year corporate 9-to-5 container in full pursuit of purpose, God, and faith expansion. And that's where and how Mega Mission Media and Seeker of Story were birthed from. Before I get into what I'm building, let me share a little bit with you about who I used to be. My career began in radio and television. Straight out of high school, I went right into corporate America. I fell in love with broadcasting. I fell in love with programming. I fell in love with production and everything involving media. In my high school, I worked for the Mesquite Independent School District television station, where I put educational programming on the air in my senior year. That same year, I wrote a letter to Gloria Campos, news anchor at Channel 8 here in the DFW area. And I expressed to her my enthusiasm and my desire to become an international news reporter. And she invited me to her office, and I came to WFAA Channel 8, and I sat with her in her office where we exchanged vision, possibilities, and everything she knew about media. Being first generation Hispanic family, I did not get the educational push to pursue universities or furthering education. So I went the easier route, and I went right into corporate America. From my high school years, I went to go work for Univision, Channel 23, where I met some of the most amazing people. And then I went to go work at KTVT, Channel 11, where I also met Mikhail Gorbachev, amongst other people. And then I went to radio and television, and I worked amongst some of the most beautiful, amazing, local, famous people, and fell in love with radio and television and media, production, everything about storytelling I fell in love with. I had to make a quick pivot from there because I became a mom and I started pursuing more income. And so I made the transition into tech. My best friend's husband was a SAP consultant, and because I didn't have formal education other than high school, I did graduate high school, and by the way, I set my eyes on mentors. I quickly climbed the corporate ladders of consulting, and I went to work for amazing corporations. I was a business analyst, I was a project manager, a scrum master, an agile coach, which was all about transformation. My last role in corporate America was Director of Strategy and Delivery. Now you might say, Susy, why are you recording in a car? Well, I'm going to get to that. So as I was climbing the corporate ladders, I became more and more confident in who I was becoming and what I was becoming. And I went from $25 an hour to $55 an hour to $65 an hour to $75 an hour, $85 an hour. So I knew I had the potential within me to do and become, and without college education. And so I attached myself to mentors and people that could coach me and teach me. In the climb of my career at $125 an hour, I had everything I ever wanted. Everything I ever wanted. The house, the kids, the cars, everything. But I didn't have the most important thing, and that's God. So all my career life, I pursued the corporate climb, the income, the titles, the knowledge, and everything. But I was lacking the most important thing, and that's the foundation of a belief, of faith. At the climb of my career, I made some poor choices that led me through some major hardships. And in 2023, I lost everything but my teeth. Including my sister. My sister passed away. I had no coping skills. In that journey, I resorted to ride sharing. They told me about rideshare. I could rent a car and I can get around, right? And so I rented a car through Uber and launched my rideshare career. And I didn't know this, but God knew the plans that he had for me were to build me and not to hurt me. And so from 2023 to 2024, June 2024, I was ride sharing. I didn't know what God was doing, but he knew exactly what he was doing. In my car, I started connecting with people. See, for many years, all I could do was connect with people behind monitors, within groups, within teams. And yes, I could transform teams, I could build teams, I could implement methodologies, I can implement frameworks, and I can mentor people. But it was so much more different when it started happening in my car as I was starting to evolve and as I was starting to grow. The people, the stories, the connections I was making in my car were profound connections and profound conversations. I actually met the second in command of the United States Air Force in my car right here. Christopher Eason was in my car, and we had a great conversation. I've met so many great people, and it was in my car. That's why I'm in my car, because the stories and my story have all been birthed out of my car in rideshare. I couldn't help but to lend the ear. I couldn't help but to stop crying about me and my situation, and I started listening to other people's stories and praying with people. Even though I was broken, I found myself praying with people, loving on people, and just really connecting with people. It was so different than that of corporate America. And then one day, May of 2024, a passenger got in my car, and I started talking to him about my story. And he said, "Susy, I'm looking for somebody like you." And I go, "But wait a minute, did you not hear my story? I'm telling you what my story." And he goes, "No, we need somebody like you in my office." And I said, "Okay." So I went to go work for him for a year, and I was no longer homeless. Between August of 2023 to May of 2024, I was homeless. And meeting him in my car allowed that opportunity for me to not be homeless anymore. And that launched me back into an apartment of my own. That's another miracle story. And so my journey has been kind of rough. I'll have to say it's been kind of rough. I learned to be resilient. I learned not to give up. I learned to believe in myself. I learned to tether vertically. I learned to, call upon my faith. And that's what started the expansion of my belief and my faith, because I grew up in church, but I never experienced God the way I was starting to experience God in my car. So my car has become my sanctuary, has become my war room, has become my prayer closet. My car has become my podcasting studio. My car has become everything, my altar, my church, my ministry, my mission. My car has become my God encounter with my passenger encounters. And so I went to go work for this company for a year. And after sitting behind that desk for a year and remembering what I was experiencing in my car with passengers, and remembering the conversations, and remembering the prayers, and remembering that even though I was broken half of that time, and remembering even though I was broken half of that time, but what I was doing was I was making an impact in people's lives by listening, by praying, by offering hugs, by worshiping with my passengers. My heart was restless behind a monitor. And in June of 2025, I made the bold decision to walk away from $155,000 a year and in full pursuit of my calling and my purpose. I'd experienced enough titles. I'd experienced enough income. I'd experienced enough miracles. I experienced enough of God's hand on me, and I wanted more. I knew that if he could pull me out of all of that, I knew that he could launch me into my purpose and into my calling. And I went full throttle, full pursuit of my calling. And I walked away and I said, God, I'm going to have to trust you fully. And so immediately when I left that 9-to-5 container of corporate career, my creativity from media, from radio and television started coming back. And in my car, I started giving out baggies of hope. A passenger of mine gave me this red marble, and this little green baggie has a mustard seed. And I give these out to my passengers, and I say, people, I used to buy baggies of dope. Now I give out baggies of hope. And so over 3,000 passengers on just one app, over 3,000 passengers on one app, and then maybe another 1,000, 2,000 on the other app, have come across me and my story, and I have come across them and their story. And I've given out so many of these baggies of hope that I have heard of other people saying, oh, I know about these baggies of hope. And that brings me so much joy. The other thing is, in full pursuit of my purpose and my calling, I said, God, I need something besides the Bible to help me. So I wrote a book. This is called The Freedom Journey Faith Expansion 365-day devotional, and the pillars are faith, fitness, finance, and family. I'm working on the fitness part. In this 2026 year, I have launched my fitness journey. And so I knew that by surrendering completely to God, and that was the other thing, sorry. When I walked away from my corporate career, I said, I'm going to fully surrender, fully trust you, God. And I'm going to expand my faith. I'm going to let you stretch my faith. And so I wrote this book. It's called The Freedom Journey Faith Expansion. It's a 365-day devotional that I use daily in my walk, because it's not easy. So I knew I had to depend on not just me and my efforts, but I knew I had to depend on these two lovely books. And so this is my guide, and this is the blueprint of my journey. So I started getting creative. I launched a book. Are you kidding me? I left a container and then I launched a book, and then I started producing music, and I produced a podcast, and I started producing music for the podcast. And so like all these things started happening, and I was like, wow, God, like this is so good. This is so good. So I went back to ride sharing, because again, I had already done it, and I went back to ride sharing. That's pretty much who I have been and where I've been coming from. So I'll pivot now into what I am building. In January of this year, 2026, I was in 2 car wrecks, and it crippled me financially. And so because I had been solely dependent, right? I thought solely dependent on my rideshare, on my vehicle to bring in the income and bring in what I needed to survive on my journey of faith expansion. One Friday after my wreck, I got up and I was like, God, what am I going to do? Who am I going to call? And he said, just start calling. He goes, and look within. So I picked up the phone on a Friday, and I made about 30 phone calls. I got 2 callbacks, and I scheduled 2 meetings, and I closed 1 deal. And today he is still my client. That's where Mega Mission Media was birthed from. I knew I was creative. I knew I my career of technology. I was a super admin for SharePoint. I was a super admin for Atlassian, Confluence, and Jira. And I had done a little bit of coding before. So I launched Mega Mission with websites and producing websites for clients. And so I was like, wow, God, this is way too easy. So I went in full pursuit of my calling and my purpose, and just again, faith expansion. And I went back to Ubering. I started podcasting my passenger stories and testimonies on YouTube, because what I was hearing in my car started out as a blog. And then it quickly turned into something else, into video, into storytelling. And I could not control anymore what God was producing in me. When I had the wrecks and I was forced to look within, that's where Mega Mission Media came from. I got up one day, started making phone calls. I didn't know who I was calling. I didn't even know what I was going to say. But I started calling people, and I got about 30 phone calls in that Friday, 2 callbacks, 2 meetings, and I closed a deal. And I was like, wow, God, wow, thank you. So I could no longer look at the accident like a bad thing, but I had to look at the accident as a blessing, because it sat me down, it made me sit still and look internally for the next pivot of my life. And that's where Mega Mission was born. I still would not let go of the storytelling and the video and audio recording. And then God spoke to me in my my journey of becoming a founder. God spoke to me, and he said, I was on the Trinity Trail, walking a 6-mile walk. And God spoke to me and he said, Susy, seek and find, seek and find, seek and find. And I wrote it down because that day I didn't take my phone with me, and I didn't take anything with me to the trails because I wanted solitude with God. I went off of social media, and I really, really was locking in with God the month of May. And so that same day I came home and I went to meditate after my 6-mile walk, and I looked down in my Bible. It's open to Matthew 7, I think it is, where it says, seek and you shall find, ask and you shall receive, knock and it shall be open. So I went on the walk, came home, and my Bible was just sitting there open to that scripture. I knew God was trying to teach me or show me something, because that's how he communicates with me. And so seek and find is how Seeker of Story was birthed. It is a God-given mission for his vision. And so Seeker of Story was birthed out of that 6-mile walk on that May Day. Oh, SOS on that day. So that's how Seeker of Story was birthed, on that May Day. That is so crazy. And so I am just so happy and thrilled to be the vessel that carries this vision, that carries this assignment, this purpose, and to be a founder. This vision of Seeker of Story was also birthed from within. So Mega Mission helps businesses with their digital presence, website development, and some other AI automation. And then Seeker of Story is a platform where we host stories of founders that can provide blueprints for a seeker at no cost, no subscriptions, no paywalls, no gatekeeping, a platform for the seeker who is seeking for a blueprint. So remember, I was doing this already in rideshare in my surrender. And when I ran into the issue of not finding a place, a person that I could go to as a up and coming founder for a blueprint, I said, well, here's the problem. And I'm a solutionist. I'm a strategist. I'm sorry. That is how I'm wired. And that's how, Mega Mission and Seeker of Story were both birthed out of my own experience and my own need of something. And so just like in my car, I was running into passengers who had a need and were broken and were in need of something. That's how these baggies of hope came in. And that's how this blueprint book came in, because I started giving out Bibles. I started giving out the devotional. I started giving out baggies of hope. So I'm a solutionist and I'm a strategist. I'll go far as say is when I go pick up passengers, I have my megaphone because I need them to find me. So I'm hollering for them, get over here. So like I'm a solutionist. Wherever I go, I always find solutions to a problem. All of this tech and radio and television has been largely the last 25 years of my life. May 2025 to today, 2026, has been a year of complete and utter surrender and submission, again, in pursuit of purpose. That has been the primary focus of the last year of my life. And God is faithful. God is faithful. I've had a couple of pivots. I've had a couple of hardships, when this journey first started, because I was in pursuit of a purpose and I had never been in pursuit of my purpose. The other thing that I do is a ride and share interview. And that is the joy of my life. I love talking to founders. I love interviewing founders. I love finding out what they used to be, what they are building, why they're building it, and how they are building it. Because this was going to be just a ride and share interview. And I was like, God, I've got to do more than that with their content. I got to do more than that with the information that they're giving me. I've got to let that breathe somewhere. And that's where Seeker of Story was birthed from and founded. Similar to what I was doing already in rideshare. That's what God was showing me to do with founders and provide that information to people who are in transition, to people who are seeking but don't know where to go find a mentor. That is what this platform is all about. It is founder funded, meaning if you have a blueprint and you want to share that blueprint, I am setting this up as a 501c3 so that anybody can have access to it. Anybody. What is Mega Mission Media solving? Visibility. And AI invasions, an AI invasion. There's nothing I love more than hearing my clients call me and say, Susy, my phone won't stop ringing. I'm also solving the issue of people who need a blueprint, who need a pivot plan or blueprint and don't know where to go to find one. This is the platform where you'll be able to find those blueprints. That is a problem that Seeker of Story is solving on a global level. So whether you're a founder, whether you're a funder, or whether you're a seeker, this platform is for you. I always find solutions to a problem. That's just how I'm wired. All right, so if I had to identify 5 steps for you to launch, to go from lost to launched, I would say, if you want my blueprint, I would say, get you a rideshare account. And if you don't have a car, you can rent through either Uber or Lyft. And you're going to be out of pocket at least, plan on $300. You have to have $300 in your bank account and have a solid bank account, driver's license. You can get insurance through them. And so you need a solid $300 to launch from any phase that you're in. You need a rideshare account. And if you don't want to do that, then, start thumbing through some of the stories on this platform. But my first 5 things that I would tell you to do is get you a rideshare account. 1, it opens up opportunities. You talk to people. I have like 25 spiral notebooks that have people's contact information from 2023 to today. And I'm a collector. And so, carry you a pen and a notepad in your car at all times and connect with people, extend something to them. Make yourself memorable, not because you want to be known or want to be seen, but because it's part of your journey and you want to leave an impact. I was born to make a mega impact on this world, and this is how I'm doing it. It's not glamorous, but it's where God has me, and nothing is beneath me. Rideshare does not pay me $125 an hour, but it's through rideshare that God has been surfacing my calling and my purpose, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Even if you don't have an idea about what you want to start, what you want to launch, still make your way around to networking events, networking groups. I was so reluctant about that because I was like, I'm not starting anything. I'm not a business owner, but it doesn't matter. You get to meet and connect with people. And my connection started out in this car. And I'm so thankful that God put, one, the lady who told me about the apartments in Haltom City where I launched out of homelessness. Two, the passenger that became my boss for a year was out of my car. And then three, Devin, the TCU professor who told me about 1 Million Cups. And I started connecting and I started networking. And I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful to them for being part of my journey and part of my blueprint. So that's it, folks. My name is Susy Gordon, and I'm the founder of Mega Mission Media and Seeker of Story. I hope this video inspires you to look within and search in this time of pivot. And it doesn't matter how many times you pivot. It doesn't matter what people say about your pivots. It's between you and God. And stay vertical and keep tethered to the throne. And that's all I have for now, folks. Thank you so much for letting me share my story and my blueprint. I will, I hope this platform, my story, inspires you to share your blueprint so that seekers can find you. Thank you.